Hey everybody, welcome back to another movie review over here on MN Viking Zombies Twitch channel as well as YouTube. I'm here with Kyle Smith, and we chose this week to talk about the Netflix movie No One Gets Alive. It's a new release over there, and I picked three movies and told Mr. Smith to pick one, and he chose this one. So this is what we're talking about. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Fresh off the nap train. I'm sorry, guys. You can probably tell. Getting old, man. I take a lot of naps now.
Oh, I hear
So
you. Naps are wonderful.
they are. They're dangerous, is what they are. So yeah, we had Adam threw out three movies to me, and I decided to go with this one. I won't say that I regret this one, but I probably won't be as high on this one as previous movies. But the good thing is I have more options now that I'm settled in. We could do some more of these, and yeah, I'd like to get back to another one pretty soon. And it's spooky season. I mean, this is my favorite time of year, so I was glad to get a couple of scares in today, even at work.
Oh yeah, I was really happy because lately I've been rewatching the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I've already rewatched all the Friday the 13th this month. The new Chucky series came out. It started yesterday with the premiere, and that looks really good. I watched the first episode. I loved it. We got the Scream movie trailer that dropped too, and I gotta say I'm excited for that as well. It's a good time for horror right now.
Yeah, I saw your Facebook update about the Chucky series, and I'll be honest with you, Chucky's not one of my favorite horror movie franchises, but I did watch them when I was younger. And if you're telling me that the TV series is worth a watch, I'm gonna give it a try.
And you watch you I know you watched the new movie, right? The one with Aubrey Plaza.
Yes, of course. I wouldn't miss out on anything that she does. I love her.
Sadly, we didn't have her in this movie, but I felt like we got a movie that had a nice, strong, diverse cast again. Especially strange for a movie that was so. I'll say it this way: a lot of the movies that we've watched to this point and talked about were very vividly colored. It was very appealing to the eye. This movie was very, very dull, and I think it was that way on purpose. But it also puts Cleveland in a light that isn't very nice.
Yeah, it did not paint the city of Cleveland. I have to your thoughts. Shout out to having a strong female lead, and technically, if you want to, I know I don't want to sound weird when I say this, but if you want to put a label on it, she's a woman of color. It's a Hispanic woman, and I think she killed it. I think the saving grace for me in this movie is the lead character.
She was
Um,
fantastic. I liked her coworker that loaned her the money as
oh,
well. I felt that
absolutely.
was a really good character. Um, I kind of liked too how the first character that was introduced, Red, as the guy who owns the place where she rented.
Hmm.
I thought that he was. It was nice of them to make that character a little more dynamic and not make him a one note villain. So I thought that was kind of nice. So again, I think we chose another movie where the casting was done pretty nicely, and they put on a good show for the material they had. I thought.
Right. Supporting characters too, like you mentioned, the villains were great in this movie. You hated it. The supporting characters you really liked. You were rooting. This is a classic good and evil horror story with a little twist at the end, which we'll get to in a little bit. But the build was slow. Um, there were
It
some
was
creepy
very slow.
elements.
I'll say that. The
Yeah,
thing is they took a lot of time at the beginning because let's be honest, this is kind of a flimsy horror story. They had to spend a lot of time with the characters and the backstories and stuff that we really wouldn't care as much about in the big picture to kind of stretch the film out.
right.
Because let's be honest, the whole story about the uncle and the ID needing to be from Texas and all that, a lot of that could have just been easily not in the movie.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure. And you can answer this. Maybe I missed something because I did watch it today. Tried to keep it fresh for the show. But maybe you could explain to me how the connection came from. I got a lot of answers at the end, but I didn't get direction on how we got to the eventual evil creature at the end that was killing all these women. And I didn't really understand the tie of both of those and the brother who was apparently sick. Did we get a definitive answer on how he came about that and how he became devoted to this thing?
Now, I was under the impression that the concrete box that stored the monster,
Mm-hmm.
that is what they use because their brother was dying, and I think it's their mom that's in that box, right?
It might be. Maybe I missed that part of it.
And that they're feeding on people to give him energy.
Correct. Now that was explained. What I love and hate because it pulls me in as a fan is stories like this where you get a moment that's like preparation for things. And I'm not gonna lie, I hate to swear on your show, but it kind of fucked me up as a kid. Remember Indiana Jones when they're about to? I think it was. It's not Raiders. Temple of Doom. They're about to lower the guy down in the lava, and you're seeing what's about to happen, and it takes a while. It just tore my nerves up as a child. Same thing in the Green Inferno when they're about to eat people, and I'm like, oh my god! So you see this preparation of the victims, and you see it in this movie.
Right.
That really got to me because you're seeing one by one this is happening, and you think there's going to be a ray of hope there, and then there's not. But the main demon at the end, the creature, whatever, it was very odd, which I'll more than I like that at the end, but I'll give them more credit for creativity because that was a very odd creature that they came up with.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen something like that come out in a movie, especially not one that you had to wait that long to see. So yeah, a lot of good points go to creativity there. The basement with the altar. I really think that was the mom because the monster seemed to have a connection when her memory that she was going to every time that she was taken to that little dream world was her and her mom on her deathbed. And I think that had a lot to do with why the monster wasn't as eager to eat her head like she was some of the others.
Yep. And the main character's name in this movie is Amber, and Amber ends up getting free, and her life pretty much gets spared at the end, which was cool because if you want that classic rooting for a happy ending story, this is what happens. I was taken back by the look of the creature at the end, but like we have to echo one more time, the creativity there is really, really, really vivid and detailed, and how they kind of take over.
The problem is though, is this a happy ending?
Well, she got
because
out,
I took a little bit different. Did she get out though? I took this ending very differently than I think you did.
Okay.
I think she died in that basement. And I think that now she's going to need to feed that monster to stay alive.
You know what? That could be a very good twist.
Because I saw her ankle broken, and as soon as she fed on that other guy, it fixed it. It healed some of her other wounds. I mean, this monster now, it's feeding her energy. And I think she's going to need that energy now. So now she's going to have to take this place and try to figure out how to trick people in. And let's be honest, right off the bat, when they were talking about the place where people were staying, those rules right away, women only, no men, no partying, and the 9 p.m. rule, it's like right off the bat, those red flags are just flying everywhere.
And you know what? For the rest of us looking at this in the movie thing, it's funny you mentioned the Scream trailer too. It's like Jamie, what's his name, giving out the rules in Scream 3. He's like, can't do this, can't do that. It's so funny because I was screaming at that. I was like, don't go in there. But for, like you said, for the movie, this works. But for her situation and her character, she was desperate. And I felt the most connected to this story out of her desperation for just trying to make it, because she was scraping like at the bottom of the barrel. Terrible job, horrible boss, just trying to make it.
When you have to go back and ask for your security deposit back, that's not a good sign. And then she had to go and beg her boss to give her hours. And she's not good at her job in the movie. And that kind of just echoes through. He tries her on another position at work, and she's not really with it there. And eventually it just starts not being worth the hassle. So she ends up getting fired. And now she has to get that job with her uncle. But in order to get that, she told him that she is a U.S. citizen, so she's got to get that ID. And she told him she's from Texas, so it's got to be Texas.
It's got to, want to, hey, tell me real quick how this movie is summed up. What's the cornerstone of this? A Texas driver's license. You never would have gotten that from me just looking at the preview. That was really funny. There's strong connection to family in this movie, which I appreciate. Yeah, she was backed into a corner, and I felt that so much watching today. He's like, oh, he's taking care of her poor mother, and you've got an uncle who wants to help, but he's kind of got his hands tied. He ends up trying to help at the end, poor guy.
He
If you
does.
guys haven't seen it, he comes for the rescue, and that never ends well. But
Oh, that uncle, and he went for it, man. Family must mean a lot to him because he put it all on the line.
yeah, family ties in the movie too. The two brothers. You can tell Red does not want to keep doing this, but he too is backed into a corner. If he tried to leave, that's not going to work. Brother would probably end up trying to kill him too.
And he did seem to like something about her to the point to where he was willing to let her go, and he wanted to try to help her, and he even tried to get her to go other places rather than stay there. And when she kept insisting on getting the money back and everything, I mean, after she saw what she saw and heard what she heard in that shower and all that, the fact that she was even really willing to walk back into that building is amazing.
Yeah, super creepy. And I've said it to you before, just personally, for you guys that watch this later. I don't like women in white dresses. They freak me the hell out. It's my least favorite thing in movies, and they were just thrown out in the movie ever. It was bad. It was really creepy. I really enjoyed that aspect though of like superstitious kind of afterlife kind of that whole thing. That's always been something that's drawn to me. It's very scary still. And they use so many different people in this movie for the victims that are kind of trapped in that house too, which made
what is it? It's like an Eastern
worse.
European woman, and it just seems like a lot of people who may have came to America and not had their green cards and are still trying to make a living doing what they're doing, and people are just trying to get on their feet and live their lives and have a roof over their heads and go to work and try to build up their way in America. And it's just kind of scary. It is.
Yeah, it made you feel for women in the movie really bad. The bus everywhere. It's so cold outside and shady neighborhoods, terrible jobs.
Yeah, Cleveland, I guess, sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, you won't be hearing Drew Carey jumping around singing a theme song in this one. This is a terrible, terrible place in this movie. Very dark movie.
From what I watched in the previews, I assumed this was set in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
And then when they come out and they're like, well, Cleveland winters, it's like, what?
Well, I would have thought that too. Now that you mention it, I didn't think it off of the start, but looking at the layout of the house, because they show you the staircase in the previews too. It's a big hotel style building. That big center staircase with the big drop in the middle. That's always a no-no. That's always a red flag to look up and see strange creatures and people in the shadows.
Another thing I thought was interesting was that despite all the drabness, there were a few things that they made pop in color, like a lot of the technology and the lights kind of accented things that may have been red herrings to other viewers because they really didn't serve a lot of purpose. Like, why was everything else so grayscale when the phone was cherry red?
That's a good point.
And a lot of the decisions that were made in this movie, as far as filming and cinematography and all that, I do kind of question it, but I don't feel like it hurt it in the long run. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Overall, and I don't know if you're going to your point about just the overall beginning to end and summary of this movie. I know we're not trying to wrap up that fast, but I think for me, just the surprise creature at the end really threw me off. So that kind of, especially at the end, you really want to go out on top with the big climax of feelings and stuff. But overall, I think for what you're saying, for the everything's pretty dim. It sets the mood for everything. It's wintertime. It's gloomy out. I think they did a really good job of how they really wanted you to feel in this movie, because
they worked hard to set an atmosphere.
Yeah, it was dark from the start, and I don't know. It felt pretty good. I didn't like the ending as much with the creature, but you know what I did like. I'll say a positive about that is how it was stored in that box and it kept making appearances. Kind of like that. What is that movie? It's a horror movie from probably about 15 years ago. The guy puts people in boxes in a house and kidnaps them. If there's an object to where you can go through, it's almost like a portal and it keeps appearing in places, and that's the thing. Just something so simple as like a chest. You're like,
Yeah.
how could you make a chest terrifying? I love that. I love that. She's having flashbacks of her mom and it's in the corner. And I'm like, oh, how did they make a box creepy? That's really good. Bravo.
So, what's your opinion on the butterflies and moths?
I don't, maybe I'm just seeing the generic here. I think they represent all the victims and kind of how no matter if you try to kill them, they're stuck there. She tried to smack the one because she was getting annoyed with it. It's like, hey, it doesn't matter. This thing's here forever. And
All right.
I think they were flocking to her because, hey, you're about to be one of us. We're picking you. You've been chosen. You're about to be one of the moths on the wall. That you're not going anywhere.
I like the strategy of the women too. Rather than stay locked in their rooms by themselves, they got together and they banded together in one room. And sure, they still got overpowered, but it did give them, I felt, the best chance to survive when all of them were together.
Yeah, there was a we've talked about this before. We've alluded to the greats and the classics in this channel before. We've talked about how some people make really dumb decisions.
Yeah.
And we're screaming at the computer or TV like, don't do that. That was a good gameplay in this movie. Yeah, you're right on that. I really liked that there wasn't the teenage campfire decision making in this movie. They tried. I mean, they were no match for those guys, but I like that.
So, do you think the woman that was going to loan her the money for the ID, do you think she just took her money and took off, or do you think she was a victim, or what do you think happened?
It seemed pretty innocent to me. I feel like something happened to her that we didn't know about. And
because I was trusting her. I was believing the character when she said that she would spot her the money. I didn't picture her as being the kind of woman that would take the 1,000 that the main character had and run off with it. But then again, I mean, we really didn't know that character for that long. And sometimes those impressions, maybe that's what got her. I don't know. Just her willingness and eagerness to get that ID and needing it as soon as possible. She might have just taken advantage of her, taken the money and skipped town.
It's very possible. That didn't cross my mind because let me see her character's name real quick. She was a wonderful supportive character.
I did. I felt like those two had a nice little bond, especially when they shared their scenes together. The one in the bar was fantastic. The conversation seemed very genuine.
I'm trying to see, is it Kinski or Simona? I can't remember which one. I feel like it's Kinski. She looks like more of her facial stuff here. Anyways, I'm trying to give the references to be semi-professional here in this show. But she seemed very, very lovely and very kind to her and supportive. They kind of, I'm sure, maybe I'm just reading too far into these characters, but it seemed like she's been in her shoes. She felt for her. And then I felt with how bad Amber's luck was in this movie that it was just one of those things where, of course, she didn't answer. Now something, and then that made me even more invested in that character because what happened to her? But then we quickly had to divert off of our concern for her and go back to the main plot of the story. We got to find this girl's money. We got to get her a license. I was rooting for her to find this license in this movie the whole time.
So what? One of the things that kind of upset me about this film and confused me a bit was how the electric and the lights and everything and the power. This monster seems to be like a big EMP when they come out of the box.
Yep.
Is that what it is?
I think so. Yeah, I think. Maybe we're wrong.
Because to me, nothing felt like that monster would have the need to just... Because it wasn't just at the apartment either. I mean, it was happening in the streets. It was happening on the bus. Something following her was doing that with the electric, and it couldn't have been the monster in the box.
You know what? When I thought of that too, the only thing that comes to mind again to talk for the show is it was just an ominous like foreshadowing of what's happening because there's a darkness following her, and she can't
Right.
figure out why. And that's the only thing I could put together. Especially, it didn't really make sense, and I can't remember off the top of my head if she woke up. And I think she did. I think she woke up and she was back in the room. But the scene where she's on the subway or the train or the bus
Oh, the one
one,
in my background.
yeah, it's incredible. What a cool idea for. But you guys will have to watch it. I'm not going to spoil that one, but you just have to watch because the way it was laid out and making it seem never ending, that was so cool. It was very
It
80s
really
vibe
was.
to me. I really like that.
Now we've broken this down quite enough. I think this isn't a movie that's going to get a ton of national attention. It's not going to be like Squid Game or something like that, where it just goes through every part of media and everybody's talking about it at the water cooler. So yeah, this movie isn't going to reach that level of bigness. But let's talk about this movie as a whole now, because I'm not disappointed I watched it.
Correct.
I mean, for a horror movie, it was what it served the need. I wish it was a little bit more involved, but like we said earlier, I loved the characters. The visuals were, I won't say appealing, but they were interesting.
Yes.
So, while the this was based on a book, so I've never read the book. Just honesty there.
Yep.
But I gotta feel like there had to have been something more in this book that could have made this movie a little bit more horror-ish from the start, because the first half feels like, if you don't include like the shadowy figures and the footprints and all that, it could have just been a regular movie.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe regular. It depends on how far we want to shift the genres, but could have, instead of a horror movie, this could have been a thriller, it could be a sci-fi thing. Without those elements you mentioned, absolutely it could be.
So yeah, I mean, if you're expecting coming into this and it being a big scary movie with lots of jump scares, this might not be the one for you. But if you want a nice character-driven movie that takes the time to invest in characters and gives you a little bit extra at the end to think about, this might work for you.
Right. I don't know what I would compare this movie to. This is very, very, very alone in itself. Like you hit the nail on the head. If you want a movie where you are devoted to a character and invested in a character, this is the one. She's a one of the actress that plays Amber. Let me give her a shout out.
Yeah, the lead is amazing.
Here. The lead actress here. Oh, they don't have her down at the bottom here. Christina Rodlow. What an excellent job you did. Big fan of yours. I will be looking for more of your work for sure. Yeah, this kind of stands alone. This, like I said, and I'm just particular about stuff like that. I had to get past my own judgment of out of the box thinking for this thing and this creature at the end. If it had been a little something else or a little bit more humanish, I probably wouldn't be so disappointed. It was very out there for me. But if you wanted some violence, you got violence in this movie. If you wanted some weird killings, the brother Red, I think it was, good kills there. It's just kind of slow. I think those are the two main points for me. If I had to put the negatives out, it's slow. The ending wasn't my favorite, but I give them a bonus for very good characters throughout. The people you love them hard, and the people you hate them hard. Lighting, man, the lighting was great for the atmosphere, but it was very it's a dark movie metaphorically, and it's a dark film lighting wise. There's not a lot of bright spots in this movie either. So
and they muted the colors too, which made it even crazier. Like, even if you just look at the picture behind me, if you're watching this right now, it's very lit with that light blue that kind of washes a lot of the color out. And there are times when that jacket she's wearing goes from that almost bland color right there to a bright pink.
Yeah, there's a lot of fluorescent lighting here for sure. That's a good point.
But yeah, as a whole, I guess this movie, if someone were to ask me for a movie to watch on Netflix, I probably wouldn't recommend this one right off the bat. But if someone told me they watched the trailer for this and they thought it was interesting, I'd tell them that it's all right.
Yeah, that was a perfect way to put it. Would I recommend this out of any other genre, or this is a must see? This is not a must see, but for the setting we're doing now and the month we're in the year, if you want to take if you have absolutely nothing to do and you want to take a flyer on a movie, I would say go into it with an open mind. It's a little slow, but I didn't hate it. Didn't hate this movie.
There were a couple times early on that I found myself reaching for my phone, and
Right.
I admit that it happened. But as things went on, I started really feeling for these women, and the fact that, like you said, that they have to do these things, staying at this house where they know that there's these red flags, just to try to make it through, and her family won't give her a job unless she has a Texas ID. It's like, oh man,
that was really wild. And I've personally never been in that situation, so I didn't know. But yeah, you really do. You feel invested in her story, and you can tell that she's a good person, so you want to root for her. But this movie, I mean, she's just climbing an uphill battle from the start. So yeah, that would be the
absolutely.
side
And
that I would say.
they took the time on several occasions to split up what happened with her and her mother, and then to have that revisited at the end when she's in that unconscious dream state and the monsters kind of doing their thing.
Yep.
That was a really cool transition, I think.
Yeah, it was nice to see. It didn't. I don't know. You kept seeing the flashbacks and premonitions coming through. It's nice to kind of have a little bit of closure at the end, but that's one of those movies too. I will say I'm not going to give it all negative, but if you want a for sure ending, this one leaves you open ended too. So be prepared. But I like that. I like that. I like the I don't know if you I don't want to call them fight scenes because it's not an action movie. This isn't John Wick, but the scenes of action or the killing or the chases, they were good. They weren't over the top, which I appreciate. Some of these movies have super over the top, eccentric things. This was pretty realistic for the most part, at least for the human characters in this movie.
Right. I guess if I were to give this a score grade, I've been kind of lenient with movies, but if 5 is average, this is probably a 6.5.
Yeah, I was leaning towards that. I was going to give it like a 5.5 or a 6. I don't hate this movie.
No,
I'll tell you.
I didn't hate that I watched it, and honestly, I will never watch it again.
No,
I have no plans of that
either. It's good to get it under the belt. I'm trying to. I might watch a fraction of what you guys have watched too, you and Kyle. I want to get up there, and this is good to add to it. But yeah, if you're setting 5 as an average, I'll tell you right now, I enjoyed this movie more than we did one of the first movies we did, A Classic Horror Story. I like this movie better than that, absolutely. But that doesn't say much because we were both pretty like, this movie's kind of all over the place. But it's not bad. Give it a chance if you want our honest opinion. Give it a chance. It's slow. The ending may surprise you. It might go in a direction you didn't think, but there's great ties to character stories. If you like a little bit on a night you need to pass, an hour and a half, give it a chance. Not my first recommendation, though. I'll say that.
No. Well, thank you for listening. We will be doing another one. I don't know when. We might try to squeeze one in between now and the new Halloween movie, which I believe we will have Kyle West on as well for. He asked to join us for that one because he's a big fan of the franchise. I gotta admit, there's a couple I missed here and there in the Halloween franchise, so I've got some catching up to do, or a couple I don't remember because they were so long ago. I guess I should say. Mm-hmm. I need a refresher on those, but yeah, it'll be nice to talk about that one. And who knows, maybe we can squeeze in that extra show and talk about something else that's coming out and fresh and new and fun.
I'll say it now. We picked 3. I won't tell you which of the other 2, but I was very interested in all 3 of these trailers. And like I'm saying, I'm not going to poo-poo on this movie. I didn't hate it. If this is the worst of the 3, we're only going to go up, but this was a decent watch. I'm going to pick, I would like to do those other 2 individually as well. So we'll pick from those. I'll let you pick from one of the 2 that you have left, and then we'll go in that order. But I would like to do one of those. Those look very interesting. If you want to pick the one, was that Megan Fox in the first one you sent?
Oh no, I hope not.
I was hoping so. I go ahead and sign me up for that one since that's a lot of eye candy to watch. No, it was good. Yeah, either one of those two we recommended. We'll have it coming out, and I'm really excited for the Halloween, the new Halloween that's coming out. Halloween Kills opens this weekend. I'm gonna go see it at some point, and we can plan on that for probably within a week. We'll review the new Halloween, and I'll try to squeeze in either one of your choosing for those other two. But we'll be
I
back
believe it's
soon.
also on Peacock, right?
I'd have to look. Yeah, you know what? I think you know more about that than I do.
Because I think that's how I'm going to be watching it, is on Peacock.
Oh, the new Halloween.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice. I don't know.
Hey, it's only $5 a month. They got lots of great classic horror movies on there too. I actually watched Sleepaway Camp on there. And if you've never seen Sleepaway Camp, that's a legend right there.
I got Peacock for Yellowstone, and I thank God. I love that so much.
So you're gonna watch Sleepaway Camp?
If you're giving it a recommendation, I'll watch it. I just want to know. I don't want to blindly just watch something based on the name. I'd like to have a little bit of a hint at what I'm going to watch before I go. Yeah, if you think it's good,
I will say, if you do watch that one, don't read anything going into it.
Okay. Is that what genre? What genre are we talking? Horror, comedy, drama?
Oh, it's a teenage camp, kind of a slasherish kind of thing.
Ooh, okay, nice. Well, that's like
not really.
Did we review Fear Street recently? Is it Fear Street ish?
It's a little darker than Fear
really?
Street.
You have me intrigued. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, again, we'll be back here. We'll be talking about more horror movies, maybe from Netflix, maybe from somewhere else. I don't know. Maybe we'll go through one of those other two that we picked. But I do want to thank everyone who listens to these, because it is really cool that the horror community can come together. And if you do end up catching this live one day, remember, we do have the live chat on both YouTube and Twitch. You can come in here, have some comments, ask us questions, because that's when things get really fun about these. We actually do have a comment here.
What's up, Logical Robot? Thank you. It says, no one gets out alive was a complete missed opportunity in my book. Megan Till Death was actually kind of great. I recommend a movie called Some Kind of Hate to add to your camp slasher watch app. All right. See,
sounds great. Yeah.
This is what we love right here, because Adam and I could talk for days. We do on and off air, like we're friends. So we'll have discussions everywhere. But this is with a request. Yeah, why not? We'll add it on there. We'll definitely do that. Logical Robot, if you will tune in or have your stuff, I hate to be that promo guy here, but if you'll put Adam's stuff on so you don't miss this and you can get us live, we would like to do this live and have your thoughts on that. So I would love to add that to the list.
And if you are on Twitch, as we can see Logical Robot is, go over there and add Logical_Robot, and you can interact with them on their channel. Yeah, on that note, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back soon to talk more horror, and stay bloody.